Welcome to another session of the International Crimes Investigative Committee. Today we will take a closer look at the United Nations, which many people are aware of, that they are supposed to become the one world government as proclaimed in the Great Reset. So what is the United Nations about, and who do we talk to? Well, our interview partner is a former high-ranking member of the United Nations. His name is Calin Georgescu, and it is best to talk to someone who knows from personal experience what he's talking about, rather than to talk to someone who just has ideas about what is going on inside the United Nations. Calin, you used to work at the United Nations. What exactly did you do there?
Well, I serve this institution, thank you for your question, 17 years, almost 18, if I can say. I start in Romania, in the United Nations Development Program, which, let's say, gave to me the chance to understand, first of all, the system. I was director for an important project, call it to coordinate the Romanian National Sustainable Development Strategy and Local Agenda 21, which I did for almost 40 counties in Romania. And after that, step by step, I arrived to different, let's say, events and in New York, and after that in Geneva, in many other countries, and I arrived also in the board for Europe in the United Nations Environmental Program. And the most important was that I was special rapporteur for waste, for dangerous products, almost 2 years and a half. And in all these things, I had a chance to have many meetings, many interviews, and particularly to understand how is running this system. But particularly in this position, I had a chance to arrive to, let's say, to the key people to understand how can work this train.
And how did you arrive at the United Nations? Did you make a conscious decision, I want to join the United Nations because I want to help the people live better lives, or did they approach you? How does it work?
Well, very good question. Yeah, in fact, even myself, I was absolutely sure that United Nations is a fantastic institution which can help the people and the welfare and the human being, and to be a good life, to have a good life, and everything to be in harmony with the nature. Because this is my background, environmental protection. So based on my background, of course, I arrived to United Nations, and I arrived to be, let's say, call it a specialist in sustainable development. But later on, of course, I find how, in fact, the things are moving. Because particularly when you are going in the field, you find the reality. Reality is not from the office, not from the newspaper, not from the TV. It's from the ground. In the ground, I find that the most important part of the game, that the nature, the gods, the universe, give to us everything we want. Everything. So the universe can cover all our needs, but it's impossible to cover our greed. And the greed is not from the majority of the people. The greed is coming from a small part of the people. Call it today, okay, the globalists, the people they said. But it's not that, in my opinion, which is correct, that is fighting today between sovereignty and globalism. But the main important cause is the oligarch, the world oligarch system. This is the main important part.
Are they the one who
They
control?
want to have the control. And for this reason, UN, I understood your introduction. I don't believe that UN, which is this I find myself from inside, can be as the people they understood, or in general is this, let's say, rumor, whatever, that UN can be the new
One world government.
whatever. No, UN, it's exactly the platform, the bridge for the oligarchist system to control.
And the oligarchs are the ones who gather once a year in Davos, the members of the World Economic Forum?
Of course. And this is a point, because the UN agenda for 2030, as all the people they know, and with all the objectives great, that will be not problems with the food, with the scarcity of the natural resources, or we take care about the human being, we take care about the children. Everything is equal. This platform, this UN platform for 2030 with Davos agenda. So this is a main important point, because UN agenda for 2030 is equal Davos agenda. And here I want to underline one important point, that both of them are NGOs. So in fact, this Davos or World Economic Forum, whatever is nominated, is an NGO. And in fact, my first question, believe me, was when I arrived, first of all, in Davos, and I have seen so many control and powerful system. I mean, all the, let's say, Swiss police was engaged in this small, very well, city, Davos, which is, in fact, is a tourist one for winter time, for skiing, for that. So you cannot find so many troops in any part of the world that you can find in Davos.
In other words, the public security agency, the official police, was used to protect a private enterprise, an NGO.
No, an NGO, not private, an NGO.
Well, that is a private enterprise, because they have member states, but the organization itself is a private organization, an NGO.
Yeah, it's an NGO, yeah, but in a sense that we cannot discuss even about the business, let's say, industry. We discuss about an NGO. And this NGO was protected totally by the public
police.
This is number one. Number two is that in the moment when you go in and you can see the meetings and the discussion, the conversation, I find that everything is, how I can say, it's extremely strong control. In a sense, it's just theater. Everything was done before. It's just someone who make the artists who they are doing the show.
So they just go through the motions. All the real decisions have been made in the background.
It's made in the background, and everything is controlled. For example, this statement made by this guy Schwab, that when he said recently, that you don't have anything and
you'll be happy.
He lost the last sentence. You don't have anything, we shall have. In fact, this is the main important point.
Yeah.
And again, the problem is that the UN agenda is the same with Davos agenda. This, in fact, is my main topic for our conversation today. And of course, this how I can say this, extremely tough position which I had for in front of them was not only from that. It was because UN, in fact, was set up in 1945 as United Nations, the League of United Nations, with one simple purpose, Rainer, to take care and to build and to keep the peace strong and powerful. In a sense, to don't arrive never ever in our life with the Second War, which was a disaster.
Yeah. So the UN as a successor organization of the League of Nations started out as something good.
Something good, exactly. So for this reason, myself, I was there. And many peoples that I met, and I have a lot of friends there. So it was a fantastic purpose. And all of us, we can join such things. The problem is not this. The problem is that in different meetings, which I participate myself, I have seen the peace very small, like a Cinderella in a corner. And she wait to have a chance to speak. And she never had this chance. She's waiting. And in fact, all the discussions, they were for war. But they don't say war.
And why is that?
It was very manipulated.
Yes, they used everything stood on its head, right?
Exactly. And
when they say peace, they mean war. When they say justice, they mean injustice.
This is a point. Exactly like in sustainable development, which I trust a lot in this. A lot. Because I find fantastic for the humanity. And for example, for sustainable development, I have been to most of the meetings, and official and unofficial, and negotiation. I can tell you how is the results. The results is that in the end of the day, is just one conclusion: how we can increase the consuming. And sometime, of course, or many of the events, the most important is the gala dinner. How we can arrive to the food. So to increase only the consuming side, it's very dangerous. Because in fact, this was exactly the same situation with the Club of Rome, another important NGO.
And you were also a member of the Club of Rome.
And also I was the president for Europe of the Club of Rome for almost 2.5 years in Vienna, in Austria.
And you encountered the same problem there.
Exactly, because the Club of Rome was exactly as you said for United Nations. I mean, the starting point was in 1968 with a great mind, Aurelio Pecei, and a fantastic report in 1970, Limits to Growth. Exactly as we discuss now. And they approach this vision that it's a limit. I mean, they find at that time that we are going too fast and too dangerous.
Exploiting the resources of the planet.
Yes, but in what sense? In a sense of greed. One is to exploit the natural resources, for example, in Ghana or in Guinea-Conakry. Why I say Guinea-Conakry? Because Guinea-Conakry, as I have seen myself in all the planet I have been, is one of the most richest country in the world. And it's very small, very small. Like, for example, Leipzig and Berlin together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very small, but it's fantastic rich.
I had no idea.
Fantastic, the best top of gold and other natural resources that are in Guinea-Conakry. So Guinea-Conakry, if they want to exploit the natural resources for themselves, this is fine. But if there are coming others from outside, this is a problem. So here we are with a natural resources exploitation. Because the countries, majority of the countries in the world, including Romania, because we are here, they have not control for their own natural resources. it's exactly the system controlled by Davos, particularly with the same agenda with UN, exactly as I told you. And they control the natural resources, and let's say the people on the power, because I cannot say leaders, because doesn't exist political leaders, particularly in Europe doesn't exist. It's zero political leaders. But let's say the people which they have the power, there are their employees. For this reason, this the world oligarchic system, they have the power on Europe because they control all the people like Bundeskanzler or president or prime minister or whatever there are. Because they are not the employee of their people.
They work for the other side.
Exactly.
They work for the oligarchs.
There are employees of the oligarchs.
Is it so? In effect, what you're saying is that the UN is now indistinguishable from the World Economic Forum, or Davos in short, because it is being controlled by the same ideas and the same oligarchs.
Totally. 100%. Totally.
And the World Economic Forum, in turn, creates their leaders who are then going to be elected by us through their Young Global Leaders program.
This is a point. In general, in United Nations, there are coming people which they check before if they are politically correct. But you have to be 100% totally correct, totally politically correct. If you are not, you cannot be in. However, they need also, how I can say, wise,
Smart
or intelligent,
people.
let's say, smart people. Because they need also the opposition, like in Hollywood films. Movies. I mean, you need also the opposition, otherwise it's too dangerous to be just in one side. And they try to control you by salary, by
paying you a lot of money.
by different offers, in a sense that you have free access to the transport, free access to the restaurants, free access to different things. And in fact, it's a badge, your badge, of UN badge. UN badge does mean that you are someone important in compared with the people from the street.
Oh.
You know, this, I mean.
So they make you feel not just richer than the people on the streets, but superior to them.
Exactly like in the banking system. Look to the young people who there are employees in the bank. And they receive maybe around 400 or 500 US dollar per month. With $500, he, in his car, he can see on the street his friend and said, sorry, I have no time for you. I'm someone. I'm the banker. So they invest in manipulate the mind of the people. And in the moment when you manipulate the mind of the people, they sell their soul. And it's finished.
So even though if they may have started out with good intentions, they choose people who, as you said, are completely in line and are willing to sell their souls.
Correct. Exactly. I mean, the starting was perfect. I repeat again, the starting point of United Nations, the starting point of the Club of Rome, the starting point of Masonry, Freemasonry. Let's be realistic. I mean, they did a lot of good things. I mean, what was the reason that Mozart was arrived to be Freemason? Because he wants to participate for the welfare of the community.
Yeah.
To participate for the human being support. Look in Africa. It's a continent which I know quite very, very well. I spent almost 8 years in different missions and other things like this. So Africa is probably the most beautiful part of the world. And doesn't exist free country there. I don't say about other part of the planet, but I'm saying about only the Africa continent. Guinea-Conakry, let's to take the same country. It's a dramatical one. I mean, Guinea-Conakry can be, how I can say, the pearl. Can be the, a gold lingo bar of the planet. Small, beautiful, fantastic, full of natural resources. Do you understand? Full. Full does mean full. And the people that are on the street with the device in the front and play games.
What happened?
Brainwash, all of them. They control exactly the presidency institution, and the people that are the slaves for their
how do they control
companies.
The leaders of these countries? Again, through money, by offering them an education for their children?
For their children, for their family, their one month Guinea-Conakry. It depends about France. Yeah, it's a French, former colony. In fact, the slavery didn't disappear, as those people said. It's most powerful as never.
Only in a different sense.
The door of the slavery, which we know from history, was Dakar in Senegal.
Yeah.
Is now all the continent of Africa. There are doors and doors and doors and doors for slavery. And
but the slaveholders are now different. In effect, it's the oligarchs who control the UN.
The oligarchs is the same. And the oligarchs control for this reason, doesn't exist correct political campaign. It's just full control, and they put exactly the person who they...
Yeah. No real elections anymore.
No, doesn't exist election. Come on. It's just on the paper. Because they know how they control this and how can manipulate the mind of the people to vote exactly what they want. So for this reason, sorry to interrupt you, the situation with Donald Trump was a big shock.
They didn't expect that to happen. That was an accident, I suppose.
Absolutely an accident.
Not part of their game plan.
It was the first time of the oligarchy system was happened an accident. Because normally it have to be Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And the process which we are dealing now with this pandemic and all these liars was supposed to be in 2016.
They were pushed into
exactly
early
in
start.
a sense to be in 2020 to be a disaster regarding food and water.
I see.
Which normally they want to arrive in 2025 now.
I see.
So the plan was a little bit changed, and for this reason, of course they will not succeed. This is clear. I mean, the system is almost down. It's but of course there are the last moments, and we have to have the courage now, all of us, to say no. For me, the most important piece of this game, Rainer, is that what I have seen in UN to my colleagues, not only to let's say to the smart one, from which I had, is they don't have the power to say no. Because they know that in the end of the month is someone who push a button and in his bank account there are coming few $1,000s. This is because the end of the transhumanism is the post-transhumanism, which is a most catastrophic situation of the humanity. Transhumanism is a transition, the transition to a robot. So we have to say no. The humanity, and this is my message, the people, they have to say no. They have to use this word, which is just very simple, no.
Yeah.
Say no.
No, I do not consent. That's the point.
Yeah.
So ultimately, when you're saying we have to say no, you're saying you have to say no to the UN because they are really the oligarchs. And when they're talking about peace, they're talking about war because they're interested in war because that's a good way to make money. When they talk about wealth And economic liberty for everyone, they're talking about poverty because keeping people in poverty makes them money.
You control.
Yeah,
You
control.
them totally. I mean, in the moment, do you know how many there are? More than 1 billion official, 1.2 billion people under $2 per day.
Oh.
The problem is that these oligarchs, all of them, are related with the system of the pedophilia one, because we know that there are more than 8 million children per year which they disappear. 8 million does mean the entire population of Austria. They disappear without any information, simply like that. And this is the transhumanism. So this criminal act is have to be stopped. And we stop in the moment when the people arrive in the consciousness and the people they arrive to understand that this is not their life. Otherwise, we are not in the line anymore with what we receive from the nature. We receive a fantastic planet with fantastic resources, and we destroy entirely.